Since 1878, we've forged talents, industrialized skills, and nurtured minds. We all face challenges, but it is how we come together to overcome them that counts. We work with educators, employers, and governments in over 100 countries to get people into a job, progress in the job, and onto the next job. We are apprenticeships, T-levels, technicals, and traineeships. We are engineering, health and care, and construction. We are aspiration, opportunity, and ambition. We are City and Guilds. No one is better qualified.
And welcome to, I think, what is probably the penultimate workshop of the annual apprenticeship conference this week. I'm extremely delighted to introduce this session. We've managed to pull together a really great panel of large employers, large corporate employers, which I'll introduce in a second. But today's apprenticeship is all about how to deliver a great apprenticeship experience. And my colleagues here are going to share their insights with you. We're also, as all the workshops have run this week, we're also going to be taking questions as we go through. So before I hand over to Bryony, I'd just like to introduce, the slide should be coming up, just introducing everybody's organisation and job title. But I'm delighted to introduce Ruth Jennings from Sainsburys. Ruth is responsible for apprenticeship and skills within Sainsburys. I'd also like to introduce Gert Romant from Siemens, who's apprenticeship training manager. And then last but definitely not least, Mark Donnelly from BAE Systems, who many of you may know as well. So I'm going to hand over to Brian, who's going to facilitate this session. And please, keep your questions coming in. It'd be great to hear from you and keep the session interactive. So over to you, Bryony.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Paula. Hello, good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining us. And thank you again to Mark, Ruth, and to Gert as well. I think it would be really great if we can just start very briefly for each one of you to take it in turns to introduce yourself. I know Paula's just given your name, but a little bit about what you do, literally just 30 seconds, and then maybe just take 3 or 4 minutes to describe your apprenticeship delivery inside your business and how you're engaged with that. That would be brilliant. So actually, let's go. I'll go clockwise. So if we start with Mark, as I can see you on the screen.
Thanks, Bryony, and good afternoon to everybody. Delighted to be here. Thank you for the invite. My role is Head of Apprenticeships and Skills. It's a role which is focused around the strategy and the policy of our apprenticeship programs. It's for the UK, it's also global as well, so working and reaching across to our colleagues in Australia as an example on a systems engineering degree apprenticeship. That's sort of the latest topic for us there. In terms of the BA Systems business within the UK, it's 34,000 staff in total, and we focus in on, I guess it's the sort of very strategic defence and technology focus. We're working on some of the most complex engineering, technologically advanced products programs that there is. One example is Tempest, which is the future of combat air system for the Royal Air Force. Another example is Dreadnought, which is the next generation of submarines for the Royal Navy. So you can imagine with some of these significant programs, we need to have talent coming through the organisation. We need to continue to innovate and to bring all the great sort of skill sets through. Some of these skills as well, you can't simply go out to the labour market. You need to actually grow your own and develop them. That's why, from our apprenticeship offer perspective, it's really, really important to us. We have 2,000 apprentices in learning, and we took on a record number of 746 apprentices last year, new apprentices into the business. And this year could well be another record. It could be around 850 new apprentice starts across 50 different types of apprenticeship. We have a 95% success rate in our programs, and delighted that we were Macro Employer of the Year last year at the National Apprenticeship Awards. We obviously, as with others, had a very sort of challenging focus across last year, but we managed not to furlough anyone, and we kept everybody in learning as well, which was important. And we used sort of like a digital solution to help us to move forward in that way, and we're working on the catch-up practical experiences as well as we speak. So I guess from a perspective of apprenticeships, Bryony, back to yourself. It's absolutely delighted to be here. That our programme is crucial to us, and it acts as a real talent pipeline for us. So I'm very pleased to be involved in this debate, and hope that helps set the scene.
Brilliant. That's great. Thanks, Mark. Yes, that really does help set the scene. And it's really, really nice to hear some really positive news from what BA are doing with apprenticeships. So, Ruth, if you could introduce yourself and what Sainsburys do with apprenticeships.
Thank you, Bryony, and I'm really pleased to be with you this afternoon, all of you out there in Teams and Hopping Land. I'm Ruth Jennings. I work for Sainsburys, which is Sainsburys Argos Habitat Nectar, so it's a whole brand, and I'm the Skills Development Programmes Manager. So I look after everything that is apprenticeship, which I say takes up about 80% of my life. I also look after qualifications within the business to support our colleagues to be brilliant. And I look after all of the early careers and pre-employment opportunities as well. So keeps me busy. Our apprenticeship offer has evolved and we're really proud of it. From 2015, when we had a very small but perfectly formed offer with 2 programmes, we've now got 31 programmes across all of our business, delivering really great talent outputs for our colleagues. We, like Mark, were really proud that we didn't have to use the furlough. Last year was quite a challenge for us, and we were very busy feeding the nation. We did pause around about 900 apprentices in March as we all pivoted our business to deliver huge amounts of online shopping for everybody in a safe way, and we moved the way we delivered our service. During that time, all of our apprentices were redeployed elsewhere in the business. So some of our Argos apprentices came into our supermarkets, and a lot of our supermarket colleagues evolved and did different roles, and we were able to lift them back into learning in September as the pressure of panic buying toilet rolls eased as we moved through the pandemic. We have a range of programmes. This week we've seen our first bit of a personal celebration. Our first level 7 senior leader degree apprentice complete. We are very proud of her. She is in our future talent pool, and she will be hopefully one of our board directors in the foreseeable future. We use our programmes to create those talent links and pathways so that our colleagues can see that career development that actually unlocks their talent. We have 172,000 colleagues. Our HR director always talks about the fact we have 172,000 talented people within our business. They don't all join us in the role that reaches their potential, so we like to give them the opportunity. We've currently got 1,200 apprentices. Last year we didn't recruit for 6 months during in our retail division whilst we were feeding the nation, but we did in our store support areas, and we didn't drop a heartbeat. So our achievement rates continued, our training providers flipped their delivery, and we're back on recruiting retail apprentices. We're looking for around about 400 this year in retail, and probably around about 300-400 within our store support division. It's a real pleasure to actually lead a team and navigate our way through the interesting landscape that is the apprenticeship world. And we use the programmes absolutely strategically to unlock talent potential and deliver our skills for the future, because we are seeing some great changes as we move forward, and the pace of change is really accelerated, and our apprenticeship programmes are delivering in those areas. So great to be with you today. Looking forward to a great discussion. Thanks, Bryony. I don't know.
Bryony's frozen, so I'll.
Bryony's frozen. Okay, go to Gert.
I'll take the.
Oh, have we got you back? Thanks,
Hi,
Gert. Sorry, I lost everybody there. Everybody froze for a moment. Please do continue, Gert. I think I might be having some internet problems. I'm really sorry if that's the case.
Yeah, I'll take that as an introduction, Bryony. Thank you very much. Yeah, and yeah, from me as well. My name's Gert Rawman. Great to be a good afternoon. Firstly, great to be a part of this session and share some of the insights that we can bring from a Siemens perspective. I work for Siemens here in the UK. Part of the HR team looking after training and competence, and part of my role within that is to support the entry-level talent, apprentices, graduates, interns, and more as we go through for part of the smart infrastructure business within Siemens UK. I'm an engineer. That's my background, being with Siemens for a long time. Siemens is an engineering company, and so our focus within our entry-level talent recruitment is primarily has been on engineers, and we look at bringing engineering apprentices through the ranks from level 3 advanced apprentices all the way through now to much more focus on some of the higher degree apprenticeships to bring in the talent. So much along the lines of Mark and Ruth's comments so far is to look at future skills, look at the skills that the business needs, especially within the engineering sector, to drive forward to retain our relevance and our resilience as an engineering company, and bring the young learners on board with their different mindsets, their different skill sets to support us moving into the future, but also to use those young minds to help upskill some of the existing staff that we have, and encourage them to draw on the thoughts and the thought processes that the young learners bring into the business. Siemens, as I say, we're an engineering company. We do everything from products to solutions within the automation space, mobility, healthcare, and in the business that I represent, the smart infrastructure, we do products and solutions into buildings, energy solutions, resilience, and sustainability. And these are the sort of technology areas that we try and encourage our youngsters to develop their careers into. But at the same time, from the apprenticeship perspective, is looking at other learners and other learners in support areas where we can actually grow our apprenticeship cohorts into the businesses to support the businesses. So yes, we're an engineering company. Yes, we've done a lot of engineering recruitment in the past, but we're trying to adapt and look at other types of apprenticeships into other areas of the business, and also the upskilling of existing staff and using some of the apprenticeship schemes that are out there to help develop the skills of our talented people. And we have the same approach. We have a huge group of talented people and lots of people with hidden skills that we'd like to uncover and develop into other areas. So great opportunities through these programs, through the whole apprenticeship program. One sort of comment, I've not dipped into many of the sessions this week, but there was one session that really sort of touched a nerve, and it was a Lloyd's banking session with one of the higher apprenticeships there. And the comment that sort of stuck with me, and as part of this discussion, is, I didn't realise an apprenticeship was for me at my stage in my career, and I think that was a very interesting discussion there to realise that an apprenticeship isn't just for the 16, 17-year-old who's left school. There's a lot more to be gained in this space to the benefit of us all. So with that, I'll hand back to
me, probably.
Paula.
I think Bridie's having a few technical issues, but that's okay, because I'm just going to kick off, I think, with the first question, which actually you've given me a really nice segue into the first question. I mean, obviously, what's apparent, you all have so much experience in apprenticeship. So I think the first question that I'd like to sort of throw out there is, and it's very, it's very open-ended, so really do kind of, think about your response to this, but what do you consider to be the biggest challenges for apprenticeships over the next 3 to 5 years? Obviously, it's a well-established program now. There's greater awareness around apprenticeships. Parents know more about apprenticeships. More young people are choosing apprenticeships now than the degree route. But I still think the system faces significant challenges. So as an employer, I think I'd really just like to, throw out the question to anyone who wants to start the panel debate is, what do you see that are the biggest challenges affecting the program over the next 3 to 5 years? Mark, can I start with you?
Thanks, Paula. I mean, you're right. The apprenticeship brand is something that we're always striving, aren't we, as a collective group of individuals to push forward. I do think there is a brand reputation and confidence focus as a challenge that we need to keep pushing forward. I could see, especially I guess with the challenging economic position, high youth unemployment, I could see there being quite a challenge to make sure there's sufficient employment opportunities created for apprenticeships, and also that young people and adults, as Gert says there, people see apprenticeships as a really recognised, valuable way to move forward in their lifelong career. So I think there's definitely something around that confidence in apprenticeships, and we need to just keep moving forward with that. I also think there's a challenge around falling completion rates. I think there's sort of, I guess there's some sort of anecdotal evidence around the endpoint assessment. We need to make sure that that's really adding the value that it needs to add. And then the diversity aspect is massive in terms of making sure that we are, as employers, but just broadly in the country, making sure that there's access for all for apprenticeships. Also thinking about the levelling up agenda for the North, and making sure that apprenticeships play a big part in any of these big topics, like the levelling up agenda. And then probably my final reflection is around is digital and sustainability as well. As we move forward in that transition to digital, sort of 4.0, more and more infiltration into that, we need apprenticeships to stay up with the pace of that, and that we are creating apprenticeships that actually keep us moving forward as a country, as UK PLC.
No, that's great. And I was just going to come to you, Ruth, and just think, does any of that resonate with you and Sainsbury's and all the different brands that you're looking after?
Yeah, thanks, Paula. Yeah, there's huge amounts that is very similar, although our worlds and our end customers are quite different, Mark. I think we are on a journey with the brand that is apprenticeship. I no longer have to have so many conversations about the fact that apprenticeships are not for 16 to 18-year-old hairdressers and plumbers. There are still a few people out there, and we've worked really hard on that. So I think increasing that brand value of those, and the greater the stories around impact and change, is going to help that. One thing on my mind is pace of change. Last year, COVID has helped us, has promoted the change within our business at a rate that's unprecedented, and we need to make sure that our apprenticeship offer is still fit for purpose, so that we can have programs that give us the skills that we as employers need, and the behaviours and knowledge to support our colleagues to be brilliant in role, and making sure those changes that take place via Trailblazer routes and the other LinkedIn elements, we have to link in the providers, we have to link in the EPAs, so that they can deliver in line and the right pace. That really does cause me some worry around, have we got an offer that is going to evolve at the pace of change that we need as employers? And we've all got a responsibility in that place to support. Another element is obviously young people. We employ 34% of our workforce is under the age of 24. People are accidental retailers. Yeah. They come to work for us and all of our competitors because they're looking for a job, they're looking for cash to support study, we're down the road, we're in their communities. So we have no issues attracting, but what we need to do is convert those into great careers. And we see the apprenticeship routes being able to do that. And we need to do that at the right pace and support those young people into employment. For us, we didn't go down the route of Kickstart. We are going down the route of recruiting for a permanent hire to add value in our business for long term. I can see the benefits in Kickstart for lots of sectors, but for us, we want to take people through our doors and look after them on a long-term basis. And the other thing on my mind is we operate across the 4 nations. Making sure that we can have a great service to our customers that's consistent in the 4 nations is key. The apprenticeship offer is wired differently, accessed differently, and delivered differently. And I totally appreciate the devolved nations have skills as an area of priority that is devolved, but we need to work more closely, I would say, and making sure that we can support really sensible conversations across the borders that we operate in, so that we can get a consistent offer. So some similarities and some builds as well.
Yeah, I have to admit, I probably have about 3 or 4 conversations with employers about the challenges of the nations and what is the apprenticeship offer in Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. So yeah, just on that note, obviously Siemens is a global organisation, and you've probably got apprentices, you know, throughout the UK. Have you come across that? How do you address that, or is this still a thorny issue for you?
Well, I would, thanks, Paul. Yeah, but I would absolutely concur with both what Mark and Ruth have said. And there's a couple of points I've noted down just to elaborate on that. I still feel that the apprenticeship message hasn't quite sunk in, and there is a worry that it's still seen as being an alternative to university rather than a de facto route. And I think, and that seems to be the message that's been pushed out there. And I feel, and speaking to colleagues on this as well, that it could be to the detriment of some of the advanced apprenticeships, who we're pushing everyone far too much into that alternative to university, or we're going to lose out on the young learners that we're bringing through at level 3, level 4, anything a sub level 6, of course. The other key points, an interesting discussion there, Ruth, on the Kickstarter thing is, and we see a key challenge is the integration of an apprentice into the business. So we can bring them through, give them the training that they need, and then it's that piece at the end to say, right, okay, now the integration into a particular business to take advantage of that learning and help the business to develop. The change, the COVID thing, yeah, I think that goes wide. I think we've had this very difficult year where colleges have reacted fantastically quickly to be able to overcome that learning gap that we were faced with about March time last year. But I think it is a challenge, and it's an opportunity. As you say, Ruth, we've all proven that we can do the impossible over the last 12 months, and that is a fantastic move. But I think maybe as well we should reflect and look if the apprenticeship standards need to be changed to adapt to hybrid models of learning, and that we don't get left behind. It's a great opportunity. It's all fresh on our minds. How can we adapt? The other one, sustainability, was mentioned. I think sustainability is absolutely key. It's a hot topic for all new young potential recruits. You know, we have to be seen to be sustainable as an employer, because that makes us an employer of choice for a lot of youngsters coming through, and the whole green skills and sustainability agenda needs to flow more into the apprenticeships. The other one, Mark, your point, digital skills. That's one of my sort of missions. Is that, you know, and I've tried to table this before in various other groups, is that the digital skill is as important as a traditional engineering skill, and it's not yet got that acceptance. There's a lot of, you know, yeah, okay, I can do Excel, Word, and I can browse on the internet, but that to me isn't the digital skill that we need in our young learners to actually move us forward. And so I would like to see a lot more emphasis on that, and I do feel that schools sort of swerve the subject, learning establishments tend to swerve the subject, because we all assume that all the youngsters that come through have digital skills. I think there's some focus that needs to be put on that. So yeah, there are quite a few challenges, but I think we've also proven over, especially last year, that we are all flexible enough to make the change. But I think that flexibility needs to be reflected into the formal structures that we have.
Great kick-off. I'll hand back to Brian, and now you're back.
Thanks. Sorry, guys. I completely lost my internet there for about 3 minutes. I was in a right panic. So we've had a question come through, and I'll just ask Gert, because I picked up on something Gert said there, and you were saying about flexibility, and the government's talking about more flexibility in apprenticeships. So they're talking about portable apprenticeships. They're talking about potentially front-loading apprenticeships. Do you think they are going far enough, the government, in making apprenticeships more flexible to meet the coming needs that we know we have over the next 3 to 5 years?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a danger there of are things becoming more flexible, or are things becoming more controlled? And I think we need to really focus on the flexibility and not the control, and think of what the what the end result is, what the business needs, and then adapt and change the apprenticeships as we move through to make sure that the youngsters we develop are right for the business. And it's all about retaining and keeping that investment in the business, making sure that they're right for the roles that we want to put them into, and that we give them the environment for them to stick. Because, you know, we talk about the relatively low cost is the cost that's always put at the front end, but the cost over the lifetime of that apprenticeship is high, and we can't just bring them on from a selfish employer perspective. We want to bring them in, and we want them to stick, and we want to get the benefit from them. We don't, and that's where I think if we take too much control into that, then we may be diluting that journey.
That's interesting, because one of the most recent changes that the government has made via the ESFA is that any new any new provider that's wanting to enter the register of apprenticeship training providers to deliver is currently restricted to only being able to deliver in a list of professions that are what the government is calling critical workers. Mm-hmm. So there's obviously an element of control being asserted by government about what they want delivered. And yet apprenticeships are meant to be a demand-led system. So when you talk about control, are you thinking that the government is exerting more control and it needs to become more demand-led, and that actually it should really be down to what employers need and want that's being delivered? Or do you think it's right at this time that the government says, no, we really need more apprentices in these areas because that's where we've got skill shortages across the country?
It needs to be employer-led, because it's the employer interaction in the whole scale. That's where we'll make the we'll make the inroads. And I think and then that goes with the publicising the apprenticeships, giving more weight to apprenticeships. We'll double up on that, and we'll succeed that way. Yeah.
Brilliant. We've got a question come up, so I'm just going to see what that is and read it out. So we've got a comment here from Leslie. Recruiting as an apprentice or conversion of existing staff. How do you convince existing staff of an apprenticeship if they can do the job without one? Interesting question. Does anybody want to answer that? How do you convince an existing staff member that an apprenticeship is a good idea if they can do their job without one? I think that's
I'm happy to pick up on that one, because we use quite a lot of our apprenticeship programs to take our colleagues through career pathways. So we'll take on a colleague at entry level, and we see some potential in them, and we support them to move into the next career area, and we will take them on maybe a retail manager program within our store if they are at their first level of line manager. So we use the retail manager level 4 program to help them into that. So they're an existing colleague, worked with us for a while, understand some parts of our business, but taking on that extra stretch responsibility, that new role that is a retail manager. So we use them for career changes and for career progression. We see huge amounts of people moving sideways as well. So an example, we've had, sideways, we've had one of our great bakers in one of our stores, and in his spare time, he liked to pull things apart and see how things worked. He had a passion to see how things fitted together. He took a sideways move and became a network engineer, and we used the network engineering apprenticeship to support him to be that person that can land, not quite ready for role when he started, but absolutely at the end of his development and the end of his apprenticeship. We do that for our colleagues that work in logistics, so entry level in logistics. We've got some software developers that used to be in logistics. We've got accountants. Most of our accountants that sit in one of our store support centres have come from various internal entry level routes, and they've used the accountancy apprenticeship to professionalise themselves, to get the knowledge and learning that they need. So we use it as a pathway program. I'm sure some
there, isn't it? Very much so. And it's because I think a lot of people think if you go to retail, you end up on the shop floor and that's where you end up. But you're making it very clear that there are real progression routes within the retail sector that can lead people into accountancy and into IT and digital as well. That's really interesting. Sorry, Mark, you were going to say something.
No, only to add that I mean, most of our intake is new intake, so it's, you know, sort of young people and adults of sort of 95% of that new to BA systems. But I guess the percentage that is smaller there would be for the programs where you're taking someone from they've been in the business a while, you're taking them to the next level. So I'm thinking of the likes of the quality practitioner, and you're looking at a step change, someone who's already well versed in what they're doing in their role, but actually having that sit down conversation, the actual function, the quality function recognises there's a requirement there, and to be honest as well, they've had a hand in actually creating it through the Trailblazer process, so they know the value that it's going to bring. So I think it's used seldomly with us, but when it is used, it's used to good effect for like a step change in people's learning and more seniority and more responsibility.
Great.
I would say also, we've started a big initiative on growth mindset and knowing that there is a requirement for you to remain relevant and in the workplace. And for me, it's interesting, Ruth, your comment there about the baker that's turned into a network engineer, and I still think there is a lot of this what I call this hidden talent within the workforce. You're so focused on that role, but at home you've got a hobby that can be converted into a skill that is absolutely relevant to the business, and it's then identifying that's the trick, isn't it? I'm a baker, so why would they want to know about my network skills? But then when that's been identified, and bring that forward, and I see that as a big opportunity within in developing internal talent. And then when people realize that there is a skill that they have that they want to develop, then then we can give the apprenticeship program as the means to give them that underpinning qualification to be able to take that on as a career. And I think that's the trick: identification, and then use what we have in terms of programs like apprenticeships, even for the older employee who is really developing, to give them the underpinning knowledge and the qualification to be able to succeed.
I think that's probably, I mean, I don't know what you think, but I think that's probably really key, particularly at this time when we know that, when furlough ends in September, we're probably going to see an increase in unemployed. And there's a lot of people there whose sectors are either shrinking or have shrunk or are challenged by automation that we know is coming over the next 3 to 5 years. And so I think there's a point here, isn't there, about those transferable skills, which are really key, because actually a lot of people don't know what their transferable skills are. And are you seeing a lot of that in your businesses? I mean, City and Guilds has created something called Skills Bridges, which enables people to look at their transferable skills and see what other sectors they might be able to work in. Are you as employers able to, easily identify transferable skills and say, well, actually, we've got someone who's applied for a job here, but their transferable skills means they might fit here, here, and here? Is that something that you're seeing more of your businesses over the last year or so?
I'm happy to jump in there. Yeah, we've seen quite a lot of that. We're looking to surface, and we have surfaced the different career pathways so people can look sideways. They don't just look silo in their division. And we see lots of people that are moving around. There is more work to be done in this space. We haven't quite cracked it yet, so that we've got a really clear pathway. We've been looking at frameworks, we're looking at structures. Every time we create something, it can then go out of date because we then restructure our business and things change dramatically. So we looked at competencies and skills and all sorts of things, but there is an absolute appetite there amongst our colleagues to really build on the brand that they love and they trust and they've worked for however long it happens to be, and embrace those opportunities in other divisions. And we see that as one of our key responsibilities, to support our career change colleagues so that we can unlock the potential that's within them. And that then really supports our attrition, it supports our vision and values, it supports the way we operate, because all of those things about us as a business, they've got and they understand. So we're just transitioning them to a whole new career area. So we're seeing more of that, but I think there's a lot more to come, Bryony.
Gert, Mark, have you got any thoughts about transferable skills when you're recruiting? Do you recognise those transferable skills that might move someone? You get someone applying from a background that's completely different from the sector in which you work, but you recognise the transferable skills.
Gert, do you want to go first?
Yeah, it is part of this growth mindset, identification of individuals of what skills they have. There's a lot more trying to get more visibility of people to actually say what they can do and what they want to do internally within the staff that we have, and to encourage it. So it's the encouragement. it's the giving people the flexibility, the existing stuff. This is for the professional workforce rather than the learners. The scope. The problem is always you're so focused on your job. This isn't what my job. My pressure is. I've got to do my job, and you tend not to have the bandwidth and the time to be able to make that sideways, to look sideways, to actually make that sideways move. So it's empowering the individuals through a training philosophy and through a development philosophy to look left and right and up and down as well, to be fair, but just to see what, but then to have something in place to support them when they do make that move, and strategic objectives within the business. And it's all part of the we've got to remain relevant, and things, especially in our engineering world, things change so quickly. You have to be able to very quickly react and redevelop yourself and refine yourself to continue in the engineering world. So yes, it's very important, but I agree with Ruth. There's a lot more to be done.
Yeah, we need to do some more work around those transferable skills and recognising them more easily and finding out where else they could fit inside businesses and employers. Mark, have you got any thoughts on that at all?
Yeah, echo Gert and Ruth's endorsements there. I think it's we see it through the application process. We see, individuals applying, and then they're sort of drawing from what they have done previously. And I think that sort of transferable skills or soft skills as well, as you sort of recognise the World Economic Forum's 2020 and the 2025 skill sets. They're all really important things. Analytic skills, things where you can sort of the leadership, the communication skills, all these different ones are absolutely are paramount. And I guess what we've made sure that we have done, working with other colleagues in the engineering community, is we're looking at the new standards, this refresh of standards as part of the engineering manufacturing route review, and making sure we've got the sort of the transferable, soft skill, behavioural ones that we expect, alongside the technical skills that we know we're going to need to keep advancing, because it's as more automation and different things take place, it is going to be the differential will be that interface from the human with the robot, and that cobotics, they sort of term it as cobotics, the collaboration between the robot and the human. So the more those transferable skills are harnessed from whatever walk of life an individual's come from, we can home and teach the technical requirement, but those soft skills will be absolutely coming to the fore over the next for 5 years or so, because of the technology advancements and the need to make the human count in all of that process.
It's going to be
I'd like to just ask you all a question, if I may, because obviously the AAC is probably the majority of people who have attended this conference this week are training providers. So whether it's small training providers, large private training providers, colleges, etc. And I know one of the key things that they're going to really, really want to hear from you guys is, how can training providers support you more? What can they do better? Mark, you've just talked brilliantly there about some internal intelligence about your industry. How can providers support you more, I guess, because I know this is the question that they will be seeking for you to respond to. So I don't know who wants to respond to that first.
Yeah, is there anything providers should do differently or better, do you think? Okay.
A little silent.
Is that a bit of a double-edged sword?
No, first and foremost, I think we'd all, Gert and Ruth, I'm sure we'd actually applaud providers for the last year or so's efforts. I think it's been such a testing time, and I can't, obviously we're an employer provider ourselves, so we recognise the challenge, but I can't imagine how it has been for FE, HE, independent training provider. I imagine it's been incredibly difficult, and yet to still support employers in the flexible, agile way, and to think of different ways of still managing to keep learners on programs. So I think the first thing is definitely to congratulate and endorse the work that's taken place, but probably just my comment would be to reflect on the specialism in each provider and to see what it is that you can provide, which will be that sort of unique focus, and to think about how that can be delivered in an agile way. Because the whole, if you think about the FE white paper, all of the sort of government reform, it's all about agility, and it's about getting us to the next step. So maybe, and we will think that too. So it's not just a kind of a challenge to the provider base. It's about us. It's about all of us thinking about how can we do things in a quality but agile, responsive way.
I'd like to echo that, Mark. I think that the provider base college that we've worked with, they've been totally amazing, both independent training providers, colleges, and some HE. It's how they managed to pick up the challenge that we faced them with, and with some we said we're closing your income stream down because we are feeding the nation, so we're absolutely stopping you from working. And the positive response that we got from that was phenomenal, because we knew that we were going to cause them a lot of anxiety. For some of the providers, we said we need you to flip your classroom model overnight if you can, but tomorrow is fine, to a virtual model, and make that happen. The endpoint assessment organisations that geared up really quickly and started to work through how can we make this still happen and create that great learning experience. And for us, that's celebration, that is the endpoint assessment. The key to all of this through last year was great partnerships, getting to know us, understanding what's on our mind, understanding the way we work and how we operate and the anxieties we're up against. Them understanding our business and that technical space builds on that strength and helps to deliver what we need. So move with us and work alongside us. We see it very much as I know there's the tripartite agreement, but actually living and breathing that tripartite agreement is really important so that we can continue to work alongside. We see all of our relationships with our providers as long-term. The programs are long, and we absolutely want our end users, our colleagues, to have a consistent approach to that development. There's nothing worse than them chopping and changing around, because that causes all sorts of additional stresses in a time when they're working, having some form of life, and studying hard as well. So consistency and collaboration would be my key watch outs on that.
Brilliant, thanks, Ruth.
Yeah, I mean, I've just scribbled down pretty good at the moment is what I'd started off with, but I would say the same. And as I mentioned before, this switch last March to from a classroom delivery model to a virtual delivery model was quite incredible to see, and the impact has been relatively low on the learners. And yes, we've all had to change, and we've had to sort of front end the loading and then pull the practical site activities later on. But we can adapt to that if the providers are supporting the learning part. I would go a little bit more on the collaboration. I think more collaboration with the providers. Yeah, providers are long term, and we build really good relationships with those providers. That's what it's about. And then a bit more collaboration, a bit more consultation on governance initiatives with the providers together to make sure we're creating the right overall package that meets our needs as employers. Yeah, consistency is another one of my topics, and I would agree with that. Consistency of delivery and keeping up to date with development, so we don't get left behind, and we can be in danger of getting stuck in today's engineering technology, as I mentioned before, and not bringing in the digital bit, for instance. Then we'll leave the youngsters behind, and that's not what we want for the learners that are coming out into the workplace. So yeah, great job done so far, fantastic. And but let's work collaboratively together and to make things even better.
So celebrate all our providers who are, yes, I think have done an amazing job, but also, yeah, keep up the collaboration, because that's going to make it work in the future. Okay, there's one question I want to ask, because we've actually got very little time. We've literally got 1 minute, but earlier on in the week there was an interesting workshop that said, are apprenticeships worth it? So I'd just to ask if you can just, each of you, say, give 30 seconds to why you think apprenticeships are worth it, or are they worth it? Mark, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'd love to. Well, absolutely, they are worth it. That's the simple answer. But they help to mitigate our skills, scarce skills requirements. So without apprenticeships, we would struggle to develop the talent that we need to deliver to our customers' requirements. So absolutely, they are worth it. And also, when you look at the return on investment, so typically an advanced apprentice is about 100k over 4 years of investment. Degree apprentice is probably 150k. Within the post year of their completion of their program, they have returned that investment in terms of the productive contribution that they've made. So for us, and they stay with us, over 10 years, they're still with us. 90% are still with us after that period. So absolutely.
Ruth, Gert, would you like to?
I would echo that. Impact. Having programs that make an impact for both the business and the colleagues. We've got we've got about 1,200 colleagues that have now completed since 2016, and they're rolling really fast, rolling through. They stay with us, they understand what's going on. It's a real unlocker. Absolutely, find the right program, one that makes a real difference to your business and the colleagues, and go for it, would be my strong suggestion.
Yeah, I've got 2 points I've written down. Massively, yes, and do we really need to ask that question now? I know that we're biased because we're in this space, but as we know, not everyone thinks this way, and it does need a little bit more work out there to get the message out. But yes, productivity. I would go further, Mark, to say in some areas we prove the productivity of apprentices during their apprenticeships. Whether it's a second-man engineer, and then if it's the way that we do the funding model on these, yes, that they are productive already when they're doing the day release section. So, and that's great, and that's what we need to do, because that's what the business then we overcome that problem of can I afford them? Yes, of course you can, because they are actually productively contributing to your business. So yeah, absolutely. Apprentices are worth it, and let's battle on, because this is a great space to be in, and we're creating some fantastic talents that feed our future skills gap for the future. So yes, please.
Brilliant. Really, thanks, guys. I think we are literally actually over time now. Let me just double check that and have a look. I think we are.
Just a final shameless plug. I'm on again in about 10 minutes time. So if anyone on the session today wants to carry on this similar debate, then yeah, join me in 10 minutes.
Yeah, join Paula in 10 minutes on the next City and Guilds workshop. Thanks, Paula. That's brilliant. Thanks, everybody. That was absolutely great. And thank you for joining.
Thank you so much, everyone. That's brilliant. Thank you.
As always.
Take care.
Thank you.